community peacemaker teams who recently returned from a several weeks-long mission in the occupied West Bank just this past September. She is a spiritual director and movement chaplain who has worked with community peacemaker teams since 2018, employed as their care coordinator and now serving as a volunteer. Community Peacemakers Teams is an international human rights organization that places teams at the invitation of local peacemaking communities that are confronting situations of lethal conflict. CPT teams support and amplify the voices of local peacemakers who risk injury and death by waging nonviolent direct action to confront systems of violence and oppression. In September, today's speaker worked alongside Palestinian peacemakers in Hebron, Al-Khalil, monitoring checkpoints, ensuring children were able to go to school safely, and monitoring human rights violations by the Israeli military and violent settlers. She brings an SOS back to Philadelphians that the current situation in the West Bank is dire, with increasing settler violence, home demolitions, pervasive road closures, mass arrests, and a debilitating economic situation since the start of the genocide in Gaza. Please give a warm welcome to Melissa Berkey-Gerard.
Thank you for inviting me back to speak. You all are giving me hope this week. You have been faithfully gathering here for almost a year to insist to Fetterman and to the world that this genocide against Palestinians must stop. Although we wish that this vigil was obsolete, we wish that you didn't have to be here any longer, here we are. But you have not backed down. You continue to gather and uphold each other, even as our country has turned its back on Palestine and on its own people. As Terry said, I spent September in Palestine with my colleagues from community peacemaker teams, and I stand here before you because my friends and colleagues in the West Bank told me never to stop telling the story of Palestine. Especially since October 7th, 2023, when the occupation clamped down even harder on them in response. And Terry and Robin asked me to talk about my situation in the West Bank, but I want to start by naming some of my beloveds in the West Bank and bringing them into this space with us. Amira, Baha, Fartil, Jihad, Mona, Abdullah, Ahmed, Dalia, and they're here with us in spirit. My friends, the situation in the West Bank is horrendous, and we don't hear enough about it here. I've been to the West Bank numerous times since 2013, and it is so much worse now. Roads are closed, soldiers line the highways with machine guns pointed at traffic. They're standing behind small concrete barriers that are spray painted, "Destroy Gaza." So many young Palestinian men and women have been kidnapped and are being held without charge in Israeli prisons, including the two brothers of one of the CPTers. They were kidnapped last November. They've now been held for a year without contact. The refugee camps in the north have had 70% or more of their infrastructure destroyed. And this month, armed settlers protected by the military are preventing Palestinians from doing the most basic of things, harvesting their olives. And in several cases in Hebron, stealing their olives. There are no tourists coming to Bethlehem and other sites. And most Palestinians have lost their work permits to cross over into Israel for work. The economic situation is horrible, and we don't hear about that. The West Bank is quickly being taken over in the past year. I worked alongside my CPT colleagues during the first weeks of school in Palestine, monitoring checkpoints during the morning and afternoon when kids are going to and from school, and now they only go to school 4 days a week. because it's so stressful to go through all of the checkpoints and things, so they've reduced the school hours. CPT has been in Hebron, Al Khalil, for 25 years because Palestinian children for 25 years have not been able to go to school freely since the heart of the city was placed under Israeli control. In Hebron, children have to pass through checkpoints and get their backpacks searched. They have to walk past settlers who threaten them, throw rocks and trash at them, and now carry openly machine guns. I saw little kids, elementary school age, being forced to wait in 100-degree weather for more than 15 minutes because a soldier didn't feel like opening a checkpoint. We saw kindergarten-age children forced to walk 30 minutes out of their way to get home because the checkpoint was closed. Other days, the soldiers would let 1 or 2 children go through the checkpoint and then stop the gate so that each child had to wait to go through. Unnecessary humiliation. Every Saturday, the children are confined to their homes as a group of Israeli settlers are allowed to take over the heart of the city, guarded by 40 soldiers. This is no way to live. My CPT friends ask, if the generation that came before us waited and hoped for a brighter future for themselves and we are their grandchildren, until when must we wait? Which generation will witness a free Palestine? Until when must we wait? We here in the U.S., especially this week, may feel hopeless. We may feel tired, fed up, but we cannot quit now. Now is when we need to reach for each other. Make sure that each one has what they need and push together. On behalf of collective liberation, for the sake of the world. The time is now for coalitions like this one to come together from all faiths and keep pushing for liberation. We keep fighting for the Jabari family of Hebron, who has settlers living in the fields where they used to graze their sheep, and an Israeli military base which was put up on their land to protect the settlers. The father of the family said to us, "I am a rock. I'm not going anywhere. I will die on this land." And he also leaned over to me then and said, "The bombs they are dropping on our people, they come from your country. You have to tell your leaders to stop sending them." What can I say to him? The only response is to deepen our commitment to calling for an arms embargo to Israel, to keep on showing up. Until when must the Jabari family wait to live freely on their land? Until when, indeed? I am heartened by the partnerships that have been formed to stop the genocide in the past year. In this movement of people reaching out towards each other, across difference, towards liberation, that keeps me going. That's what is keeping me strong. That's what's keeping me getting up in the morning. I believe it is the millions of the people across the world working together who will convince the ruling parties, whoever they are, to stand down and stop the bombs. It is us, friends, who can answer this question, until when. It stops with us. Slain Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh said, "We should mourn, grieve, roar in anger, but do not despair." And indeed, my friends, we cannot lose heart. We must continue to rise up together. This week, we may be mourning the results of the election. We may be mourning the rising death toll in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the West Bank, and we should do that. We need to take time to mourn, to grieve. And may our mourning fuel our determination to protest. May it fuel our determination to stand in the way of violence, to rise up as people of faith, calling on divine justice to bring liberation and peace through our actions. Palestine will be free. Keep it up until Palestine is free. Thank you.
As we do every week, we'll end with a moment of silence.